Good morning, Rabbi Beitzah. Eli Nishmas Mordechai. Today's shir is sponsored by Mordechai Sapoznick, Lzaicher Nishmas' great-grandfather, Horav Elchonon Teitz, Horav Elchonon Zev, Horav Binyomin Avrohom Yaakov, maybe meiletz yosher for his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, the entire mishpacha of all Klal Yisroel. Today, Mordechai is making a siyum on Masechet Sukkah, and it happens to be that it's the first mishnayos that Mordechai has ever learned was with this great-grandfather of his. So his neshama should have an aliyah by Klar. And thanks to R'Eli and MDY for enabling me and all the participants to learn and enjoy learning the daf with wishes for ksiva, b'chasima, tova, for all. By Steve Jakubowski, a lawyer that I know. You guys remember that story that I said over that Pesach night, after the Lala Seder, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's a knock on the door, and there's a baby by the door. That's Steve's.
Can you tell us that story? I remember that story.
Well, we'll talk about it a different time when we'll learn Psachim Beitzah Hashem. As of today, having started in earnest with you on February 8th this year, I'm only 11 dapim behind, fully energized from Rosh Hashanah and some Gedalia davening, ready to plow forward with my index. He's indexing the entire Shas, sitting behind the controls I've set up in my office. I'm not even 5 minutes into Yeshir on Sukkah Daf Num Gimel, and I'm in a ditch on the side of the road with a flat tire, and couldn't be clear message from Hashem that before I do anything else, I guess that's when I was talking about the Siyum in Chicago, that these guys in Chicago weren't participating in the Shir, and he's one of them. So he's writing to ask Mechila, I guess, something like that. You have to get into a car accident, the Chap the Inyan. Couldn't be clear message from Hashem that before I do anything else, I need to ask you for Mechila. So please be moichel me, absolutely not. Never just watching a share for 3 days early on my phone, for sure not then, instead of watching you live when you were last here in Chicago, but for everything from the time we first met in 2003, Mr. is referring to that story of leaving his baby by my doorstep, Seder night. Steve, if you come to the next few things every single day that I'm in Chicago and you organize and you bring 20 people in, then maybe we'll talk about Mechila. Until then, zero. You're going to Yom Kippur with zero Mechila for me, you understand? Gemar Chasim and Tova, Mazel Tov again, and Aaron's Chassan, and best regards to your wife and brother Avi. He hired my brother Avi. Avi worked for him for a while, very close, and much thanks to your team and then the MDY Chabura for making it so precious to us all. Everybody says the same thing. We hear it all. But it's true. The team. We share many more simchas and siyum together in good health. Steve. Shkoyach Steve. What time is it? Oh, it's not so late. 7. From Akiva Solkowitz. Anybody know who Akiva Solkowitz is? F2, whatever, 202 or something. Spotted in New York. Boy said, this is not Stam. It's MS. Now, it happens to be that he's the president. It says like this: Akiva Solkowitz, president and CEO of Diamond Auto Leasing. Now look at the license plate. It's spotted. Shkoyach. Ruvain, this is not a joke. 8-minute daf. The Olam's driving around 8-minute daf cars. So here's another thing spotted. One of the guys, I don't want to mention his name, so because they'll put a hit on him or something. He goes to Kedasya Bezdin, and he sees this in Kedasya Bezdin. This is an ad to join our shir. On the bottom here is Rabbi Schoenberg. Did you know you're in an ad? You're famous. So he's wondering, why is this hanging up in Kedasya Bezdin? And then he looks real closely at the bottom. It says, Hengt min Daf Yomi auf the internet. Bitte geb arois enke psak a dank. Kitzer, he wants to know if you're allowed to, if it's mutter. He brought it to Kedasya Bezdin to know if it's mutter to learn Torah on the internet or not. That's why I was like, no, it wasn't hanging as an advertisement, but here it is. Here's the Lashon right down here. Beautiful. It was in the garbage. I don't know if they took it out. I don't know.
You can get a free Gemara.
A good Geben Shiar. This is the last one, Rabbi Yisai. Being that I can't afford to miss a single day of the daf, I'm now classified as a dedicated listener of R'Eli's most amazing daily daf shir in the world. You mentioned 3 times during El that you have difficulties keeping your dal minim like your aravas, etc. fresh. so you're forced to change them daily. Well, here's the solution to your problem that many have in Eretz Yisrael. If you can make time to visit the Arba Minim Center, located on Rechav Malachi 17, second floor in Geula Yerushalayim, coincidentally it's located in our home, we'll be able to provide you with top quality Arba Minim and some easy tips that can help the Arba Minim last right through Sukkot B'Siyas Shemaya. Meanwhile, none of the hints are here in this email. So I'd have to go to Rechav Malachi 17, second floor. Coincidentally, it's located in my home.
What's your phone number?
Coincidentally, his phone number is also here, 054-841-7272. I don't know, but if you want to email him, it's chesed@gmail.com. The guy does chasadim. He tells people how to keep the Arba Minim chesed with 3 S's, by the way. Maybe that's how they spell it in England. Chessed, because I guess chesed with 2 S's was already taken. You may realize, however, you want to learn new techniques and preserving the meaning from the entire yontif. You can bring the chaver along. He allows that also. Tremendous. You're guaranteed a free handshake and a smile. The American way of doing business to make you feel at home. May I only suggest that once you're here ready, drop into your father and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Shkoyach. So where is this again? I forgot. Malachi 17, second floor. Coincidentally, it's located in his home. All right, Rabbi Isai. We have a very, very easy daf today. Baruch Hashem. Erev Shabbos. Shir is at 9:30 Motzei Shabbos. So, all the way, if you look at the Mishnah here, all the way to the Mishnah, it's what we already learned yesterday. It's repetitive. Word for word, we're going to learn the same thing 5 times in a row. We are today Daf Yud. Very, very important daf. Now, it works. Made it even simpler than the simple repetition. Why not? The first Mishnah of our Masechta talks about Kisei Adam. Kisei Adam has 4 problems. You're chayrish, you're plowing, you're koitesh, you're grinding. There's also a problem of muktzah and a problem of boina, making the hole. So the Gemara takes care of that problem, and we're talking about nods deker. As the Mishnah says, there's already a shovel in the ground, so it's not muktzah. It's not plowing, it's not kaita, it's already in the ground, it's already done. So there's 0 isur. The only problem maybe that it looks a little bit like the isur, we got rid of everything. Who says that's okay? Beis Shammai. And Beis Hillel say it's not okay. So that's in the first Mishnah. So the Gemara brings a list of Mishnayos that we're going to be learning today, tomorrow, that seem to contradict this idea that Beis Shammai are the mekel and Beis Hillel the machmer. Case number 1 we had yesterday with the ladder. Beis Shammai say it's also to move a ladder to grab birds for yontif, for the yontif meal. It's all simple as yontif. Beis Hillel say it's okay. Gemara says it's not a raya. And it's all the same answer. It's not a raya because over here the 0 isur, he already put it in the ground and he got rid of all the isurim. A ladder is different. People might confuse it. Fine. Then we spoke about tzipor yesterday, which is our Mishnah today, but we learned it yesterday, which do you have to designate with your mouth or do you have to lift up the birds? According to Beis Shammai, they're more machmer. You have to lift up a bird designated by literally saying, this is the bird I want to eat on Yontif. Beis Hillel more mekel. How does it jive with this? Beis Hillel say, when it comes to Kisei Adam, they're the ones that are mekel. And all of a sudden, this whole list, they're the ones that are machmer. And today, we're going to be learning about it. Eli. Eli is just a stone that you grind wheat on. Is it muktzah? Is it kli shemachtel isur or not? Or hide. And a tris is a shutter. These are all in the Mishnayos. We're going to learn it today, and it'll be a beautiful chazar for tomorrow, and some of it even today. But it's the same question over and over 5 times in a row, same answer 5 times in a row, besides the last one that we say, Enechanami, Mchlefes Hashita. Mchlefes Hashita just means that we're flipping Beis Shammai Beis Hillel because it doesn't go with our first Mishnah of the Masechta of Kisei Adam. So we're holding 4 lines from the top. Try to make the bracha beforehand, and sometimes I forget. Okay, by the way, Gershon, if you're wondering, so microphone number 3 is blinking red. Before it's not working at all? It might die, yeah. We have 40 minutes. We gotta rush it a little bit. The last few minutes of the shir won't be on. All right, so here we go. Eloi Kasio. Let me ask you a question from somewhere else. Again, Bishamai in the first Mishnah are the ones that are makel, and they say you could use dirt to cover the blood. Bishamai Eli. Eli, this is the best I can come up with. I might be completely wrong. Obviously, this is huge and people are not moving, but it's some sort of surface, like a pestle, that you grind something on. And here's the surface. And I want to use this as a cutting board for my meat, for Simchas Yantiv. Obviously, I don't want to grind wheat now, because grinding is not so permitted, right? But I want to use it for my meat. So a smaller version of this, or maybe Yaakov Avinu, you could just lift it up with one hand and bring it home, whatever it is. It's a Kli Shemalach L'Yosher. Now, when it comes to muktzah, we always say, you're allowed to move muktzah, if it's a Kli Shemalach L'Yosher, like a hammer, L'tzorech gufay or L'tzorech mekaymai. If it's on a chair and I need to sit down, so you can move it. Or if I need the actual hammer to pop open a coconut. So over here, I need the actual Eli for my meat. That's the tzarech gufay. Nevertheless, B'Shamai say, no can do. Ubeis Hillel matir. All of a sudden, so here comes the question. Why in this case are Beis Hillel the ones that are mekel and B'Shamai are the ones that are machmer? It's the opposite of the first Mishnah of the Masechta where B'Shamai are the mekel. Okay, so that's question number 3. Again, we're talking about the Simchas Yantiv. I need it for my meat. What do I do with the first Mishnah of Beitzah that B'Shamai say that you can do Kisi Adam, and for Simchas Yantiv there's no problem. Over here, you have to say that B'Shamai are the ones that are mekel, and they say that you're allowed to move an Eli, you're allowed to move this cutting board. As the Gemara Memai. Why does Rabbi Yochanan have to say Muchlefes Hashita? So again, I pointed out yesterday that there was some sort of tradition. Rabbi Yochanan had Muchlefes Hashita in his head. He got it from his Rebbe that there's one of these Mishnayos you have to flip B'Shamai Beis Hillel. So he's trying to figure out which one it is. Now, we bring the contradiction. So if there's a sort of a contradiction between the first Mishnah and our Masechta, we'll go that according to Rashi, that's the one that's right. B'Shamai are the mekel. Beis Hillel are the machmir, and then we're just going to have to flip Mishnah Eli. Mimai, says the Gemara, same question we had yesterday twice. We're going to have it another 3 times today. Perhaps the first Mishnah in the Masechta is because there's 0 Isser, there's no Harisha, no Baina, nothing, because it's already in the ground, the shovel. But in our case of Eli, this cutting board, you're not getting rid of the Isurim. The Isur is here, it's a Kli Shemalach L'Yosher. Maybe in that case, even B'Shamai agree that it's Asur. Maybe over here by the Eli, it's a Kli Olav, and you're allowed to move a Kli that's Kli Shemalach L'Yosher L'tzarech Ochel Nefesh. I need to eat today. But you're not allowed to dig and do Harisha and Ktisha and Muktzah and everything else. Maybe Muktziyah, but not Ktisha. Eli Kashya Ho Kashya. Okay, so let's go to the next Mishnah. Also, on the next daf. Now you shechted an animal, you have the hide, you cannot put it down on the ground that people should step on it. That's called ma'abed. You're tanning you're working out the hide. So I got a picture this morning from our in-house shochet, from Weisfish, and here, beautiful picture of a hide. Here's the skin, and on it a kazayis basar. So if it has a tiny piece of basar, so now you're moving it agav the basar. That's a separate halacha, not important for today, but it's a great picture nevertheless. If it has a little bit of meat, you're allowed to move this on Yantiv, otherwise it's muktzah. We still say it's mutter to put out the hide, because if I cannot put out the hide, I'm going to lose my hide. Why would I shecht my cow today, L'tzarech Yantiv, for Simchas Yantiv, if I'm going to lose $100 worth of the hide? I can't have people step on it. So now it's going to prevent me from enjoying Yantiv. So Beis Hillel, you're allowed to work out the hide. Alma, oh, contradiction. First Mishnah says the opposite, Beishamay or Mekel, and Beisil or Machmir. Vermini, Hashaychet Chayvai, beyond the first Mishnah and Masechta, over here, it's flipped. Beisil are the ones that say you cannot work out the hide, and Beishamay say you could. Who told you? Maybe there's no connection. The first Mishnah in the Masechta they were Mekel because the shovel's in the ground already. You could sit down the way they used to sit down, says Rashi. They used to put a little carpet on the floor and they used to sit down Indian style. What is it called? Something like that. Oh, you can't say it. It's not politically correct. It's not PC. Jewish style. Avalasam loy. Eli kashi. I have another question from another Mishnah. B'shami Yomrim. Ein misalkin is atrisin. Now, I got a decent. I couldn't find what I was looking for, but if you look closely, maybe this picture. First of all, it's great. It has candy and it has a Jewish kid, a Yiddish kid looking at the candy. But you see over here. There's this green. So over here, there's a shutter. If you look closely, here it is. It's right over here. Here's this shutter. So basically, Rashi says they would take the shutters and use them as shelves to put out their stuff. So I thought it's pretty close. A little bit. You can see the green over here, and it fits right in over here. Fine. At any rate, the point is that this shutter, he puts out when? On Shabbos and Yom Tov. He's selling his goods on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Are you allowed to open up your store on Shabbos and Yom Tov? Let's see Rashi. Says Rashi, what?
Not this guy. Not the guy in the picture.
All guys.
He's not selling the Shabbos again.
No, not him. But could you? So look at Rashi. Divra Maskal Mizge Trisin. So Rashi says, you see Trisin like a third down. These are the shutters that you close the store up. You put the shutters right in front of the store. You put out your spices. Says Rashi, on Yontif, you're allowed to buy from a storekeeper that you are familiar with. You're allowed to purchase, and it's halacha, and Shulchan Aruch. So sometimes you're allowed to even say the amount of money if it's a known item. Everybody knows that this costs $2. The guy says, okay, you owe me $4. Allowed to buy stuff on Yontif if you're not going to pay him now and you're not going to discuss the money. So I guess Lzaicher Yontif for Echel Nefesh, so that people should have a Gishmak Yontif, keeps the store open. What were you saying, Rabbi Schomburg? I saw you about to say something. You're going to tell me in England when you were a kid they used to do that? Mamish, I was mechaven to that.
There were occasions when a person wanted to make a simcha or something.
Yeah, like a Shalom Zacher, yeah. Yeah.
Allowed him into the shop.
Right. They do that for Shalom Zacher, but what are you saying? No way. You learned in Panovich? The kiosk, in the circle next to Panovich, there's a kiosk. They used to open on, and they used to sell the guys cigarettes. I mean, you can get a soda on Shabbos, but you have to. It's based on trust. Okay, after Shabbos you come. No, restaurants and Yontif, and that's something else. But this is you're going. You go with the cart. You start loading up your stuff, and you walk out. And after Shabbos, you come. Yesterday, the first time I went to Oshrad in a long time, I wanted to cover Sukkot. I went to Oshrad. You scan your own stuff, you put it in the car, and you walk out. It knows how much it does. Or in the airport in America now, there's no people. You walk in, and there's 100 cameras in the ceiling. It's an Amazon store. You walk in, as you grab the stuff, it scans. It knows what you're pulling out, and it charges your credit card. Okay, fine. How did I get to that? I don't know. But could you buy that on Shabbos? Could you go into Amazon store on Shabbos? Says the Gemara, so what happened? Okay, we're going to have to go through all this again. It's the Mishnah coming up. Beisil say that Lzaicher Yontif Amekel, and you're allowed to. Afla Hachzir. You're allowed to put the shutters back. So that's already the halacha Levi. This is your favorite halacha. The Hatzala halacha. If I don't allow you to put it back, then nobody's going to open up a store because people are going to come and steal all this stuff. So, okay, you're right. The putting back of the shutter It's a muktzah item. It's building, it's baina, soiser, taking off the shutter, soiser, putting it back as baina. I like to do binyan on yantiv because otherwise you wouldn't be soiser, you wouldn't open up your store to begin with, and it would prevent simchas yontiv. Remaining question. So the Gemara's lashon is a little different. But at the end of the day, the first Mishnah, the zero Isser, he already put the shovel in the ground. That's why Bishamai are matter. But over here, by the tris, you're Sicer, you're Baina. That's why they say it's Aser. Hacha, like it cannot. Ela Beisil, Beisil, Kasha. So at the end of the day, this is where we stay. This is where Rabbi Yochanan got his thing, and he sticks to it. Muchlev is a shita over here. And then the Gemara says, at kind of like Rabbi Hillel, Hachel Mishum the Ein Binyomin Tehillim, Ein Stir Tehillim, Avalasam Loy. But at the end of the day, you could slug it up and say that Basil just hold, you didn't do an Isser by taking out a shutter, because a shutter is a kli that belongs, it comes in, comes out, and there's no binyan and stira when it comes to Kalim. You're not building. The official mission is sponsored by Fischl, for Shlomo, for Braino, Bas, Yenta Dvaira. If Yosef, you could get the other name ready, I forgot to put the other name. Shkoyach. Says the Mishnah. Beis Shammai Oimrim. So we went through this yesterday. So Chazara. Lo yitol elam kain niana miboid yom. You have these birds. This is a slightly different picture. I added something. I'll show you soon in a second. See how these birds? Which ones did I add? Very good. How do you know? Because they're double the size. It doesn't really look like they're sitting on the ledge. Okay. But I got two different ones. I didn't use the same bird. B'Shamai hold, you have to lift up the bird and say, this is the bird I'm going to be shechting tomorrow. You can't just walk in here and pick from the hundreds of birds that you have, pick any one you want. And that we said yesterday was a kasha, was one of the 5 questions. You see the machmer. Not true. You could just point and say, this is the one I want. So these birds, by the way, a little bit of background on these birds. These birds that we're talking about the babies. The chicks, call them whatever you want, they can't fly yet. Because if they can fly, you cannot go in there and trap them on Yantif. Tzeidah. So they can't fly. How many eggs, on Yantif I asked, how many eggs does a bat lay? How many eggs does a pigeon lay a year? I couldn't believe it. My biggest nightmare. I read this Rashi, I was going crazy. I thought they lay 2 eggs a year, and if you're able to break them, so you got them and finished. They're not gonna. They lay eggs, 2 eggs a month, for 9 months a year. I looked it up on Google. It's pretty similar to what they say today. And 3 months out of the year, they don't lay eggs. But basically, they lay eggs 2 every month. They're constantly laying eggs. Okay. So, in this dovecote, they have a pair of pigeons, and they have a lot of offspring. The first eggs, and then you have the second, the third, etc. Interesting that Rashi says that typically when they have 2 eggs, that I didn't look up, one is a male, one is a female. Okay. Says the Gemara, we're talking about the first eggs that hatched. Interesting. I just, for those of you who care, how do you say bricha in French? COVID, Rashi says. And there's the first wave and the second wave. I'm reading here, that's what he says. COVID belaz. Okay, and with Nikudis is literally COVID. Fine. And this is the first. The first wave of COVID is the machlokes. The Bishami Savri, you guys reading Dilma Asilim Luche, you might not want to shech the mayantif. Why? What happens is, in order to get these birds, Akiva, he started it with his COVID joke in his Siyum, Mesechus Brachas speech. Okay, so, you think I forgot? If you get rid of these birds, the way, it's very interesting. I'm learning a lot about the pigeons now. This is open to the whole world. Any pigeon can come in here and roost and do whatever they want to do. But the way you get them to stay is you keep their offspring there, at least the first pair. If you can get the first pair to stay there, then that first pair is going to stay with their offspring. If you get rid of the second, third, they don't care that much. But the first, the b'char, they need to stay with. So the concern is that you might shecht. If we're talking, you say you're going to shecht the first pair, and then you're going to have charata. Because then you realize that you lost your birds. They're going to go elsewhere. What keeps them here in your dovecote is the first pair. So that's where the machlokes is. Great. Even Misham, I agree with the second pair that you could just point it and say, this is what I'm taking. We're just concerned. The concern here, we'll see, it's about muktzah. You take it, you look at it as, oy vey, I'm not going to shecht this beautiful pair of birds. If I shecht them, I lost a bunch of producing pigeons. I can't do that, and then therefore you're over on muktzah for no reason. But b'bricha shniya, nobody has charat. Says the Gemara now another thing. Why does he have to say before Yantiv, I want this pair right over there? Lema mikan ani noitel l'macher. Before Yantiv, he should just say, by the way, I'm going to walk in here on Yantiv and take whatever I want. And why does that work? Because of the concept of breira. Breira. Retroactive clarification, according to the Irish school. Breira. I could decide on Yantiv that what I meant to take two birds is these two birds. Whatever comes to my hand, that's what I decided before Yantiv. Retroactively. Now, and if you say they still don't agree with that concept, okay, so it goes like this. If there's a dead person in the house and he leaves through a certain door, so whatever's underneath that door, so we're talking about a doorway that has like a ceiling to it. It has like this door right over here. It has indentation. A lintel. Okay. If there's a pot, a kli underneath the lintel, then it becomes tamei. If the doors are closed, what happens then? So this is where the shaila is. When they decide which door the mace is coming out of, and now we have to when are they deciding this exactly? If they decide that a certain door, let's say they specifically say, we are always going to use the front door, so then whatever's by the front door becomes tamei from the tomb of the mace. Otherwise, it says like this. There's many doors, you go out different ways. Everything is tamei. Because we don't know yet where the mace is coming out of. But they open up one, whatever is underneath that door that they open is tamei, and the rest of the kelim are tar. When, how, where, we'll see in a second. If he thought in his mind that he's going to take the dead person out of one of the doors, out of a window that's large enough, then all the doors, all the doorways, all the kelim there are tar. You have to think about this before the guy died. So Beis Hillel over here is saying you can do retroactive clarification. You can go breira, you can go reverse. After the guy dies, I decide that he's going out of the side door of the house. So now anything by the side door is tamei, and now I'm going to undo all the tumah. Even the front door. This was sitting by the front door. Now it went from tamei to tar because I retroactively undid the tumah from it. So you see that we still hold of breira. I could go retroactive. Now, I just want to point out a bomb question, which I don't have to say now, but I might forget it later. If it's true that I could retroactively go back, I could decide tomorrow, after the guy dies, I could decide what door I want to take him out of, and only then, So then as Taisvas, every single dead person that comes out of a house, I retroactively decided, because I took him out of a door. Eventually I'm going to take him out of one of the doors. So that is the door that I decided to take him out. So everything else should become tar, according to this Havamina, or even later on we'll see that's not such a Hav. And Tais is Deichek. He says, yeah, you're right. Maybe the dead person never came out of the door, like my dead guy in my apartment building who died and never came out. He became reduced to ashes. Or what? No. Yeah, he didn't come out, but they brought him out. Other people bring him out. Yeah. Bishkai, who's that, Avi? Yeah. What is that? It's the new year. You're right. Once a year.
No, I already did that.
No, but that was last year. No. That was 2 days. That was before Rosh Hashanah, no? It was on Rosh Hashanah. I don't know if that counts. But that's it, Avi. You're done for the year. He's the one. You weren't here Rosh Hashanah. He said it. So I asked one. On Rosh Hashanah, he said, I ask one question a year. And I remember this first question about a tuna fish, a flying tuna, something about a flying tuna. That was back in Chulin. And all of a sudden he's speaking again 2 days later. So I chapped that he meant that it's a different year. Okay, it wasn't a question, it was a joke. Okay, he saved himself an email now. Says the Gemara, and it's not true. There's no retroactive over here. It's all forward from here on out. Now what if? Question, do you have to physically open it? Can you think about it? But it's from here on out. It doesn't work retroactively. Rava says no. You could go retroactive. The reason why retroactive doesn't work by birds, why can't he just decide what bird he wants on Yontif? And then that's what he meant on Erev Yontif? Because we're concerned he's going to start feeling every bird to see if it's fat enough for him for Sudas Yontif. And it comes out that he's going to be moving muktzah objects for no reason. As the Gemara of Amr's Ba'omed Va'omer Zev Ani Noitel Sagi. If he stands there and he says, you just stand and say, I want this one right over here before you. He points to it. What's the difference if he points it before Yontif? He could also have Charata now. When Yontif comes along, he points to those two. Great. He says, you see these two guys over here, they look nice and fat. He gets up on the ladder. It's like my dog Mando. He's this big, but really he's this small. I mean, literally, he looks like a rat. Right? You never gave him a haircut, so you don't know. He's his total size. But for all the Hasidim that are upset at me that I have a dog, he's not really a dog. I don't know what it is. He's a rat that looks like a dog. He's literally this. A cat once. I'm not joking.
He's a barking rat.
He's barking. Imamish. He's barking rat. We once went out and by mistake he looked at a baby cat, at a kitten, and the mother took him and Kamat ate him. There's nothing he can do about it. And from then on, when he sees a cat, I lost the mic. Which one? I'm talking about Mando. So this one, okay, but now we're back. I have the other one. I have two more.
My one is.
The other one is, oh no, somebody turned this off. Oh, now it's on. Nobody ever turned this one on. Okay, how about now? Huh?
Brera. Is the microphone off from the beginning?
It doesn't matter. Oh, this one, hold on. There's another mic here. Okay, this one could go, right? Okay. Now I'm not so cool. I only have two mics.
You can still leave it on.
Put it over here. It's time for the steak. No. Sometimes too many is not as cool.
Just wait when you'll see them in.
Yeah. The fake mics? Yeah. Lower. He just compared me to Hamas. If anybody didn't hear, he just said I'm like the Hamas. They have 25 mics and they're all fake. They're not connected to anything. Nobody's recording anything. All we need is that guy from Africa to stand over here and do the whole shir in sign language. And my 5 mics in sign language. Okay, we're ready? Gershon? Gewaldig. Okay. Says the Gemara. Okay, so fine. Fagie. Says the Gemara. Hanamili Merev Yontif. Ava b'Yontif also, you're not allowed to pick out on Yontif. The Zimnim, the Mishtakhi Shmeinim Chushim, because what's going to happen is you'll find the heavier ones, the Geshmaka ones are really skinny, Chushim Shmeinim, Vikom Etatam Midilei Chazilei, and at the end of the day, it comes out that you carried something that's not Roi. Iname Zimnim Mishtakhi Kulu Chushim, you'll find them all Shvachamaisis, V'Shavaglu, you won't even take any of them, you'll just wait until they fatten up a little bit. However, says Rashi, if you point it out before Yantiv, you're not going to take it back. You already decided, you already put your mind to it. So even if you find out that they're not the fattest, you are going to use them anyways. We just turned to the Amud Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim group. For all those who need Shidduchim, Yeshuos, Refuas, please join Tehillim.com and by Shlomo Lalezarian from Los Angeles in honor of my wife, who is Moisen Nefesh, for Torah. Now,
Oh, he has a wedding information.
oh, who?
I sent it Mishnah.
Oh, yeah. But before we get to the Mishnah, I want to point something out because it's almost Yantiv. And over here we're talking about Simchas Yantiv and birds. It seems like that there's a big mitzvah to have birds for Yantiv. It's Simchas Yantiv. So the Tur, when he brings down this halacha, he brings this down. He says, how do you, and we're Simchas Yantiv, the time that the Torah talks about the Samach V'Chagecha Sukkos coming up. So how do you do Simchas Yantiv B'zman Hazeh? Tur says with wine, avi, and that's why I brought you down the other day, and meat. But the Shulchan Aruch, the Beitzah Yosef, argues with the Torah. He says it's not true. B'zman Hazeh, there's no Indian of meat, and he only brings wine. So you're good with wine. But there's a lot of others that are, the Shagas Ayer brings a lot of rayas that meat is, or brings a raya that meat is the way to go. In fact, a bris milah, there's a lot of poskim that say that the way to do the Sudas mitzvah is with meat, or at least chicken, which is, don't do bagels and lox. One of my kids, I don't remember which one it was, I had a major fight, not a fight, my father was paying for the bris. It was like my first kid or second boy. And I said, I said, I want to go low key. I don't want any of your shtick. He's big into throwing huge parties. I said, no, bagels and lox. That's what we do. That's what I'm from New York. Bagels and lox and orange juice. So no. Here, that's not how we're doing it. So it's my kid, and he's not a takiv like that. But he like in his edel kind of way. No, we're gonna do it. Okay, fine. At the end, he did it like it was parve cream cheese, it was shvacha. But he had these eggs Benedict with pastrami and zach, and don't ask. But it could be he was right. At the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if he did it for the halacha or because he's the big foodies, these guys. But at the end of the day, la halacha, it seems like he's supposed to do meat, even though it's early in the morning, it's a problem. But bottom line is that we should try to eat meat. I think that's what it came out from all the poskim of this. There's so much about that. Yes, there is meat. Midoraisa b'zman hazeh is the Shagas Aryeh. Oh, that's what it is in our Merkaz. Beautiful. Rabbi Schoenberg, Rabbi Yankiv Schoenberg has a big shtickle Torah about it. Okay, so I'm not going to be married. I'll stop right here then. What? Spoiler. But Rabbi Yisai, wine is definitely you yaitza with wine. So Be'ez Hashem, one of the things I got really, really excited about is I finalized with a guy yesterday to double my sukkah. I have probably 800, 900 square foot sukkah. I could have. So it was half the size. Now we're going to do double. So all the shiurim Be'ez Hashem, and Be'ez Hashem, I want to let the Olam know. Every morning, but you have to be part of this shiur like from now. Every morning is going to be a massive breakfast. Pancakes, waffles, eggs. There's going to be chefs making stuff and wine on the table. And no, and please don't tell her. Oh, we have 4 minutes left, so let's go. Zok, no, only milchiks, unfortunately. I mean, based on this, fine. You're invited, even though it's your first day here. You see, you snuck in just in time. Says the Mishnah, you menachem ateh. Says the Mishnah, sponsored by official for Shlema for Avram Yosef ben Chana. Zimin shchayr matzah levanim. You designated black pigeons and you found white ones. Here, that's why I did the white ones. You said these two, and all of a sudden you find these two. There's no jokes here. You designated the white ones and you found the black ones. Asurim. If you designated two and you found three, it's asur. Why? You must designate, and you only designated two, and now you have three. So one of your three is not designated. It's muktzah. Why don't we say batal b'roiv?
No, we assume that all of the three is gone and...
No, not even that. You don't even have to go that far. You don't have to go that far. Why go that far? You don't have to say what he's saying, that all three left and two. Even if one more came from outside, it messes everything up. And I'm asking why. I'm talking about, this is a question of the Rishayim. Should be batal b'roiv, and the answer is, based on what we learned, that's one answer. Another answer, very good. The Olam's holding cup. The other answer is because it's balchai, it's not batal b'roiv. What if you started with three and now you're down to two? So perhaps, that's what you said, they all flew away and two new ones came in. Not a problem. Mutter, we're not chosh that. But if, I think it's something like this, according to Rashi, there's a little, you see that each one is beautiful. Each one has a ledge. And you could actually see they sell these bricks with the circle. There's a thing that happens, I guess. The ledge, Rashi says on top, but there's a ledge for these birds to sit on outside. You designated them b'soich, they're inside the hole, and you found them on the outside. Asurim, that's not what you designated. It's different birds. Let's say you designated two pigeons, and you look around the whole dove coat, and there's only those two pigeons. So, those are probably the two that you designated, they're just in a different spot. Says in Bar Pshita, if I designated whites and you find blacks, of course you can't use them. They were not designated. They're muktzah. So he says very simple. It's not two cases in the Mishnah. Oh, he designated blacks, he found whites. Or he designated whites, he found blacks. No, it's one case. He designated blacks, and in the place of the blacks he found the whites, and in the place of the whites he found black. He designated both, a pair of whites and a pair of blacks, and they just flip a rood. The whites are on the bottom, and the blacks are on the top now. What do I do now? So it's one case, says the Gemara. They're the same. They just switched spots. The ones from the second floor went to the first floor. The one from the first floor went to the second. All four of them left, and now you're dealing with four new ones. You cannot use them on Yantiv de Muktzah. Says the Gemara, by the way, I'm serious, a very, very simple sugya. So you have the roiv, because all the birds in the world could come into this place. It's not closed up, it's open to the world. These pigeons come, they roam around the skies, they go fetch food and they come back in. So you have the roiv of all the birds of the world, v'karoiv. But you also, so you have a conflict between two Yesodis in Shas, in the Torah. Roiv, the Torah says, you go basa roiv. And you also have karoiv, like we learned in Shkolim, that if you find money next to one of the pushkas, the 13 pushkas in the base of Mikdash, it's going to go to that pushka. So what do you do over here? Are these the birds from within, from that you designate or not? Halayich achar roiv. You always go, when you have the two things conflicting, roiv and closeness, you go by the roiv. Kido Omar, says the Gemara, it's not a raya. Why? Kido Omar abayo bedaf, ochanami bedaf. We're talking about there's a ledge on the outside. He gives them room to sit there. Now who comes there? Says Rashi, very interesting. The birds from the world come sit there. They won't go inside the dove cote. You know why? Because the guys inside are very territorial. And they'll chase you out. So the birds from the world are scared. What do? They wait around like pigeons do, and they wait for the knockers to leave. When those knocker pigeons leave, these guys come in. So what he's saying is, at the end of the day, they're really close, but they're very far. So close, yet so far. These guys that are close, they're really from a distance. You found them inside. They're not inside. What are you telling me? That these birds from over here, they're from within. No, they're not from within. They're from somewhere else. They're at the end of they just were hanging out there on the ledge. Shnayim matzah shloisha asurim. Says the Gemara, Amanav Shach Achrinaninu Hachrinanu. No, so the Gemara just explains that if you designated 2 and found 3, you're good. Why? Manav Shach. Achrinaninu, like you were saying. Hachrinaninu. V'loy achrinaninu ha'ikechad marbo. The reason why it's asur, not good. Shnayim u'matzah shloisha. You start out, you designated 2, and now you have 3. So in Manav Shach, it's no good. If the 2 ran away and 3 new ones came, that's the worst case scenario. They're all bad. None of them were designated. But if you just added 1, it's also a problem because now you have 1 in there that's muktzah and you cannot be badal b'roid. Shloisha u'matzah shnayim mutar. My taima. But if you started with 3 and you found 2, then it's okay. It's the same 2 that you started out. Mamish, a Maisa Shahoyo, when I was in the safari with 3 lions, and I did a shear with the lions, 1 of them got up and ran away. What shaykhs is after these birds? No shaykhs. Stam, a Maisa Shkamatoya. No, be'emes. 1 got up and ran. So over here also, 1 got up and ran, but the 2 remained behind. Memela, you're allowed to use those 2. Levi Masnis and Rebbe, Veloy, Rabbanon. Fine. So here's a whole new sugya. Easy sugya, by the way. I guess we'll deal with it on Motzei Shabbos. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, 9:30.